All right, folks, we are back for another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. Again, I am joined by my co-host, Nick, that I promise I will let him do more talking in the future. However, right now, Nick, shut up and just say hello.
Hi.
That's better. Today, we're joined again by Marcin from Awaken Realms. We are actually going to be talking about their new Kickstarter for a game that they're working on called This War of Mine. I know it's a little bit close to the end date, but one thing I'm going to say to kick this off, we were just talking about it before we went live, that holy shit, is this kind of an edgy game. I want to throw that out there. The game is very real and very visceral, and I'm sure that we're going to unpack that a little bit more. But first, I want to say, Marcin, thanks for coming back. How are you doing tonight, man?
Everything is cool. I mean, a little bit tired because of the campaign, but it's a lot of excitement and great communities out there to support you. So you can get with 4 hours sleeps for 20 days, but it's okay. It's perfect and great to hear you guys again.
Great to have you on again.
Cool. So I know that you only have a limited amount of time tonight. You had a ton of Kickstarter comments come in, and I know how hard that is to manage sometimes. So we're just going to jump right into it. So tell us a little bit about this War of Mine, where it came from, and kind of what you guys are doing to make this board game unique.
All right. So basically, the original idea came from the software, from the game developer company called 11-Bit Studios, and they are a development company in Poland. And the game was, I think, one of the most popular indie game because it was created by just few very passionate guys, and it actually, it was featured in the mainstream medias, and the biggest point of the game is the story that it brings. It is the story that in war we're used to see everything from the perspective of soldiers, military, or whatever, the fighting guys, right? Even if there are some computer games that try to make something more out of this topic, like Spec Ops: The Line, where they show you, how the war makes you a terrible person in a way, like if you get into the aggression and everything. But a huge, and actually, most of the population of any country is just civilians. People like me and you who just go to work every day and have their own hobbies and whatever. And these games pictures what happened where you have a country in a military conflict, in a brutal military conflict with the civilians, how hard this can be, how difficult things get when you have a lot of moral choices very strictly connected with your survival. Because this is basically what we want to picture in the board game. I'll talk a little bit more about it because the message of the original PC game and the board game is very, very similar. We wanted to stick with the original spirit because it is a great message. It shows, it is a very deep message, and it shows that games, whether it is board games or even computer games, they can be more than just an entertainment. They can be a medium of a sort to show some values, to show some important messages, right? And we were, Michael Oracz and Jacob, who are authors of the games, were picked up this title because of this message. Because, for example, Michael Oracz is pretty known board game designer. He done, for example, Neuroshima Hex, among some other games, but I think Neuroshima Hex is his most popular games, and he was doing board games for 15 years. And when you look at the tabletop throughout these years, I think that there's kind of a wall that board games hit when they are just entertainment, and that's it, right? You just go play, you have scores, and that's it. You're trying to win. And what Michael believes, and I fully support him in it, that board games are also a way to tell a story, and an important story that you can also make you engage in some story and understand few people through immersion. That you can make a very immersive title that will, like help you understand or to see some problems that are actually out there, right? So basically, this is what the game came from, and thanks to this strong, very strong message that it brings, it were able to gather a really great team of people behind it, because like all of the persons who are involved in this project are very. We actually like had to read through the stories from the war-torn cities, and like it just makes your eyes open. Yeah.
Cool. So, you kind of going back to the core elements of the game itself. So,
Mm-hmm.
in this war of mine, as you kind of touched on, you're not a soldier. You're a normal person. You're, the baker, the guy that owns the jewelry shop down the street.
Exactly.
You're the housewife, and
Yep.
so that really kind of gives it much more of a, I guess if you want to call it, a mature and visceral feel to the game, because we have so many games out there. It doesn't matter if it's a board game or even since this is also a computer game where we can kind of cross into that genre where you got games like Battlefield and Call of Duty where it's like everybody is so used to playing as like this highly trained badass with a bunch of weapons that can just mow people down left and right that they don't think about like the collateral. They don't think about what happens when it's just like normal people that are living in these environments that are like suffering from the collateral damage of what would happen if a war just broke out in your city. Nick and I live in a very big city. Atlanta is huge, and I not to get too political, but there is very much like a haves and have-nots thing going on here, and I can imagine that if Atlanta was just ripped apart, that it would be absolute madness and chaos everywhere, and any type of law enforcement that was left would have a very, very, very hard time controlling it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think the main point is that somehow movies and games makes war something cool, I would say, because like when you are playing all those epic moments and like you can see all those stories when the soldiers are so brave and so forth, it kind of makes you to a topic where you can see war as something like exciting, interesting, and things like that, right? But the truth is that for most of the folks out there, it is like true horror, and like you don't want to concentrate it on it because like it doesn't sell well most of the time, right? So you're just picturing like the best moments, or like the kind of the most glorious moments, or the most kind of romantic, I guess, in a like fighting spirit way. And you forgetting about 90% of population who is just like out there trying just to survive, right?
Right,
exactly. Which is actually what we're trying to bring, is the topic that like war is not something cool. It like it is very. It tends to be very, very bad. And when you will actually read the stories, and we wanted to put all those stories into the journal, they are really horrible, and those are the things that are actually happening out there. It is like you guys and me as well. For most part, the Europe and the US are countries that never experienced true war in our borders, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, at least on the level that you guys are showing, where buildings are devastated. We haven't had anything like that here since the Civil War.
Exactly. So we actually, as a generation, haven't seen it, right? Firsthand, right? So this is what we want to bring, is just like to show that there are some things that are really horrible, and they are happening somewhere in the world, right?
Yeah, definitely. I could see that, because there are plenty of places out there right now, and we don't have to go into listing them. I mean, anybody can Google and find out what countries right now, even though they might not be in the news, are just being.
I mean, like. I'm from Poland, and the country next to me, it is like we have a border, Ukraine, like have a kind of military conflict with Russia, like they are fights in there, right? So it is country next to me, so I can kind of like get a little bit of stressed about it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's got to be scary. I mean, you've got people sitting pretty much right next to you that are just going to town on one another, and really all that's separating
Yeah,
you is some invisible man-made line.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the game itself. Like we've not, I think we've kind of touched upon what you guys are shooting for as far as the theme goes, because a lot of people they always
Yeah.
want to know like what's your game about, what's the theme. Tell us a little bit more
Mhm.
about like how it plays. What are the mechanics?
Sure, sure. So basically, the biggest difference you will have in here from the original PC game is that whereas the PC game is meant to be a single player experience, this is actually kind of like a multiplayer version where you get to um, like when all those stories are happening, when all those like things are happening, you're actually in there with your friends, sitting around the table, and you can like decide together what to do. Because there are a few cool mechanics, and I will go into the details in a second. But one of the most important thing in the game is the reality impact events, which is in like there's a lot of bunch of decks in the game, decks, and in some of them there's a card that will say reality impact, and this is something unexpected that happens, and it is not strictly mechanical way, but it will tell you to go to a book of stories, read some story that is marked by a number, for example 375. And very, very often those stories have a very, very hard moral choice you would need to make. I will give you an example of that. In one of my playthroughs, we as a group were kind of starving. A lot of our folks at the shelter were hungry, and we had two people out scavenging, and we get a reality impact, and we find a room, and in this room there was a newborn baby and a lot of food. And the choice is that you have very limited amount of things that you can take, and you could either decide that you are taking the child with you or you're taking the food because like your people are starving. And those are the choices you'll mostly get in the game. And like it is very interesting to play it as a group because like every one of us has kind of different moral perspective, and this game was designed in a way to like provoke discussions about it as well. So this is one of the mechanics. So like the book of stories. The book of stories will actually have 1,000 unique adventures. There will also come a mobile app with 1,000 more. And in the mobile app, you will also have a sound and images and stuff like that. So this is like I'm starting for it because from my perspective, this is the biggest innovation that the game brings to the like board games. That it is not only like gameplay mechanics, like get points for this, for that, but it is actually a story in it. So this is a fully cooperative game. So meaning that you do not control a hero and the other person is controlling another hero, but everyone is managing everything. But the game is designed that whoever holds the journal, which is, let's say, an instruction, so whoever holds it, have the control and the final say on this moment of game. And after this moment he passes the journal away, and another person have the decision. So basically what happens is that everyone feels responsible for everything, and you can discuss with everyone what should we do, but in the end the person with a journal have the final say, right? And basically the game is divided into 2 zones, which is a day, and in the day you are in your shelter when you're trying to build new stuff, fed your people, try to heal them, or utilize the resources that you get. You can build really a lot of things, like for example water collector, traps for rat. You can try to reinforce your door. So there's like a lot of ways you can make your shelter safer, or utilize your resources. And at night you go out and scavenge, try to find some resources, but it is very dangerous as well. So you basically can, like meet some other civilians, or you can meet, for example, soldiers who will try to fight with you. The game has like a lot of elements that you would find in the kind of other survival games. It is very deep game, but it is very easy to learn because the way it is, that's another very interesting thing about this board game. The way it is introduced to you is not the usual board game scenario. When you get the instruction, you need to read it, and after reading it, you start playing, right? This is what you get usually with the board games. This game actually comes with a journal, which is semi-storyline, semi-instruction, where you are making your setup, and after making setup, you start playing, and you learn at the go. And like there are some things that you will just like not know. For example, the game will ask you to choose whether you like more water or wood. What do you take, right? And you will not know, and it is actually made in purpose because just it will put your immersion at a higher level. Just imagine that the war broke out, and like at the beginning you have actually no idea what will be useful and what's not, right?
Right. Yeah, I can totally see that.
You just like you just need to make a gut call. Okay, I will take this because perhaps, right? But you never know what is the correct decision, and this continues throughout the whole game. You'll never have the like black and white scenario. I will do this and this will be good. No, in this game you can try to do good, but you will end up doing, for example, something bad. It is very grayish game where you have a lot of tough decisions, and that is why it is full cooperative game, meaning that you have a full group with you. You're trying to make the best out of it. You're debating what to do, and for it to make work, the decisions needs to be really hard so that everyone will like be engaged in the game.
Wow. So just from what you were telling me, so like let's go back to the journal just a little bit. So
yeah, sure.
It's not so much that like I was thinking of like comparisons for anybody listening, but like the closest thing I can think of is like I guess like Warhammer Quest, where it's kind of like you have like these preconceived like these are like the general things that will happen in the story, and you kind of feed it into like a randomizer. There's to where it's like there's going to be a linear end to this. Like it's like if we do X, it's over. Where this game, it seems like from the moment that you start, you have no idea what it's going to take for you to win.
Exactly. I mean, there is actually one win condition. It is survive. You need to last to the end of war. This is your only goal, and there is no points, no nothing. You need to try to survive, and you don't know what it takes to survive. This is where you don't know what is coming. You will be surprised very often with how the games will play, and I don't want to spoil some events, but we wanted to build it as a kind of a real simulation where the game will hit you hard, and it will be unfair very often. Whereas, like in as we imagine, obviously, in wartime it will be just the same, where you cannot predict tomorrow, right? Maybe a bomb will go on a shelter tomorrow, right? Who knows? Maybe a sniper will hit us. You can never be sure of what is going to happen.
Yeah, and that's like one of the scariest things about being anybody caught up in a war is the fact that you're in the middle of it, you have no idea. Like, sleeping through the night is not going to be an easy thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I know that we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be asking, well, so far what you've described is kind of like a resource management game. I noticed on the Kickstarter that there are like thugs and raiders and things of that nature. So obviously there's going to be some elements of combat. How does the game go about working those out?
The core game actually is this is not a game where a combat is very crucial part. You usually try to escape the combat. This is this is the game about how to not fight, not how to it is not kind of a zombie slayer or whatever. And when the combat happens, obviously, we have a gameplay mechanics that every kind of weapon have its own different custom dice. So if you have only bare hands, so no weapon at all, you actually have only, those are d6 dice, and you have about, only two sides have wounds. So you have, 2 on 6 dice, like about 40%, if I'm not correct, chances that you will do any damage at all. If you have a knife, you have a better chance. If you have a pistol, you almost every time you will hit someone. So just imagine a scenario that you meet a guy with a gun and you have no weapon. You will just die. There's there's no karate chops or whatever movements that you could pull off. Most often than not, you will just die, and that's it. Then your hero is dead. There is also a expansion we have added to the Kickstarter. So right now it is free for all the Kickstarter backers, and after the game in the retail, it will be as expansion, where the combat will be made in a way that you will be able to actually move around on a special map, where some places will give you bonuses to your defense, and some places will have a special your enemies will have a special actions and so forth. But what is interesting in the combat is that it includes the book of scripts. After every turn, you will be able to try to stop the fight and talk your way out, and the book will know, for example, how wounded your enemies are. So if, for example, your enemies are wounded, they are more prone to leave you alone or let you escape, because they are also wounded, so they don't want to get killed.
Right, they also want to survive and get out of there.
Exactly. You can try to give them all the things you have to, just tell them, take everything from us, but the funny thing is that even if you give them everything you have, you will never have the guarantee that they will leave you alone. So it is, we wanted to make it as as similar to the simulation of real life, where when you're fighting, fighting is not your only option. You always can try to talk your way out of it. You can try to give some goods to them. You can try to bribe them, or run away. There's also option to leave one person behind and the rest is running away. So there's a lot of options for you to do, and they are always coming with a little bit of story snippet that will get your immersion into it.
Okay, cool. That's so what I'm gathering then is because again, since combat is not meant to be the center of this, again, you're not making Call of Duty the board game. What it really comes down to is that combat's going to have a very real and lasting effect, and you could either choose to outright murder the people that you run into, you let them go, but at the same time, if you decide that you're going to get into these fights, there's a very good chance that your character is going to die.
And you will lose the game, exactly.
And, so I guess that touches on the next subject. When it comes time to losing the game, again, it's a cooperative game, so what are the different ways that we go about losing the game? Because character death is going to be a very real thing.
It is, yeah. Let me start that character can die or escape or even commit suicide from very various reasons. It is not only wounds, but you also need to feed them. Every reason that I will list right now is a possible death cause. So you have wounds, you have hunger, you have illness, you have fatigue, and you have misery. And misery is, I think, the most interesting out of those 5, because the misery is how character is feeling depressed, basically. Meaning that just imagine a situation when you're a usual civilian and you will kill someone. Even if this is a soldier that was trying to kill you, you will kill someone in self-defense. In that situation, you will be probably very kind of depressed in a way because you killed a person. Like you're not some cold killer. You just kill the person even if it was trying to kill you. So misery is kind of a system that will reflect that. So every time that you will do something morally wrong, meaning for example steal food from some old couple or kill a person or do something that like normally in society is kind of seen as bad, you will get those misery tokens. And you can obviously also make yourself better by for example, playing a guitar and singing a song or smoking cigarettes, stuff like that. But this is a mechanism that will show you, like what is the character's psyche at the moment. And like as I said, you can lose your heroes from all of those statistics. But like you are a group, so you start up with 4 characters at random, and there's also a chance that someone new will join you. So yeah, if you lose, for example, 2 characters, it doesn't mean that you lost the game. There's also some new people that can come in.
Okay, so let's expand upon that a little bit. Let's say we've got 4 people playing the game, and 2 people die. Okay, their characters get killed, like random events, things like that happen.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily have to be combat. How are those 2 people still involved in the game, even though they don't have characters to play?
Oh yeah, this is what I meant in the beginning, is that there is no player-to-character connection.
Okay.
So it is not like every individual player have individual character. All the resources and all the characters are, like, let's say, joint good. So everyone is managing them, but the players take turns where the player at this time have like the final decision on the matter at hand. So let's say that there's one story snippet that is coming out, and there's a decision to be made. And then a person with a journal is making the final decision. Everyone is debating what to do, but you're making the final call. Then, after making that call, we're passing up the journal, and another person will, for example, decide what are you taking, what resources are you taking from the scavenging. Which is a cool mechanics because, first of all, it is fully cooperation. There is no like, I want my character to be better or whatever. It's like fully cooperation. It keeps people engaged all the time. So there's no downtime, for example, like in Dead of Winter, where like if other person is playing his character, you cannot do anything. You just need to watch and observe what he's doing. In this game, everyone is engaged at all time, and also it also solves the problem as you said that few characters can die, but the game can go on.
Okay, cool. So that kind of helps answer that question because I know you touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
that was one part
sure.
I was a little fuzzy on, was whether or not like each person.
I mean, it is unusual for our games, very unusual. But like I've been playing, I think like 100 promo games, like showing the people the game, and it really works because it normally wouldn't, I would say, but because the choices in the game are so hard and the game itself is so very tough and it is so hard to actually survive that like everyone tries to like be engaged and try to come up with the best answers. So basically, probably if the game wasn't that hard and the decisions wasn't that hard, it wouldn't work, but I really think it works right now.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I know that you only have a little bit more time. We've really touched upon like the core stuff of what's going on with the game. Tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter and what you guys kind of have in store, because you still got, 5 days left? So people will still have time to back this.
Mm-hmm. I think that the biggest reason that people will ask is, like, why should I do the Kickstarter and not wait for the retail version in a few months? And this is a fair question. So basically, one of the things we did in this campaign is we put a lot of emphasis on people involvement in the game. For example, yesterday we asked people to choose a 13th character, and there was like I think like 300 amazing stories, really amazing ideas on like characters, and like we will pick together with a community this character, and it will become a 13th character in the game. So this Kickstarter is actually giving you amazing opportunity to like involve people in the game and through their input create a way better game. And obviously there comes a thing with all the expansion that you are getting for free. So I think that right now we have like expansion that will basically double the value of the game. So basically you are putting 50 pounds, which is I think $75 or something like that, and you're getting the value of double that. So this is obviously the incentive for you taking the risk that you're helping us bring actually this title to life. And we also have like little plans what to do in the future, but I can't spoil that right now, so sorry.
Oh no, totally understand. So you've already dropped quite a bit. So and I'm just kind of paging through the Kickstarter now as you were talking, kind of seeing everything you've got going on, and you guys are really going out of your way to really make sure that people get quite a bit of stuff in this game. Like
we actually doubled the amount of miniatures from the start. We started with 8, and right now there's like 22, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's insane. And plus, you guys have plenty of add-ons to where if people want, more thugs, more soldiers, more heroes, they can do that. I do like the.
You can actually make yourself a hero in the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can. We will you will send us a photo, a picture, and we'll make you a 3D sculpt and print it out for you, and you will get your own character card.
Oh,
because this actually, like really fits the theme of the game where everyone can like live through the stories.
Yeah, it kind of falls in that. What would you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really like that. So I see that you guys have plenty of expansions. I really like the miniature, the resin mini diorama, where it's basically somebody who's spray painting on the wall, fuck the war, or he's carving into the wall.
Yeah, it's carving. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that, and it's a really really well done piece. So even if taking the game out of it and just looking at the quality of the work that's been done in this, it's actually very very top notch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, and the miniatures look realistic, which I know a lot of times because you guys are sculpting in about 28 to 32 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes that's really really hard to do.
It is.
We see it less and less nowadays with a lot of computer programming, but it used to be like big head, big hands, and everything looks very much to scale. The soldiers themselves, they have the their weapons are shouldered. It looks like they're walking forward, like they're clearing out an area. So like you're very much like gathering more of that realistic feel to it. It doesn't look like somebody's about to John Woo around the corner with some guns while they're wearing rags, because that's what you see in every post-apoc game.
Exactly. Well, and it is not a heroic style at all. It is just like normal people are wearers.
Yeah. So right now, with everything that's going on, if people were to back it for the base game, what all are they going to get as far as stretch goals?
Right. So they are going to get a tactical expansion, which will make the combat more tactical, basically, which is kind of obvious. But it will first of all bring cards with written special actions of the soldiers of the enemies that they will do. So it will not be only dice rolling as it is in the core game, but it will be more about trying to get a good spot, trying to manage more complex combat, definitely. So this will be this one. Another expansion that we've offered is Stewards expansion, where when you're going out scavenging, you can actually choose to go out and to the sewers, where you will build the map, so you'll never know what is around the corner, and again trying to find the resources, and also try to find the obviously, it is also a dangerous place, so you can get into fights. So that's why there are also additional miniatures for that. There is also an expansion for the Orphans of War, which is an expansion that will add kits to this topic, because this is also a thing that is often forgotten. And they will change the game quite a bit, because from the gameplay, like let's say mechanics, the kids will be another person to feed, but they will not be able to bring a lot in terms of resources or help. So it will make the game harder.
Wow.
Because you need to protect them and feed them and everything. It just showed this aspect as well. And right now we'll be unlocking a fourth expansion that will be added for free to the core box, which is farmers, because it's like an interesting story. A lot of in some conflicts that we were reading about, when the war broke out, the farmers, people living in the villages, had quite no other choice than try to escape to the city, because if they would stay in the village and the army would go this way, there's almost 100% chance that all the people will be wiped out, just purged, killed, and that's it. So they got an impossible choice. You either stay and risk being dead, or try to escape to the city under siege and have some chance for survival. So a lot of those people got into the cities, actually. And when they got into the cities, they were very different culture from the people that used to live in that city. So they brought a lot of diversity in terms of how they would actually behave in the similar situations. So that's why this expansion will bring this kind of few additional cards that will bring this kind of different mindset of people in there as well. We have also some other additional things that you will normally not get in the core game, which are, for example, kind of semi-legacy envelopes, which is that once you will open it, you will get a surprise something. We cannot spoil what it is, but we have prepared very cool things out there. So there are those envelopes, there's a miniature of a dog, and there's also some RPG cards when we develop the story mode. So there's like a lot of stuff additional to the core box, which makes, as I said before, the value of you're basically getting twice as much as you're paying because of the Kickstarter edition. So.
That's crazy. That's so much stuff. Like, I just keep scrolling and I keep seeing more stuff.
It is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like you even have add I take it you have this in Great British Pounds, so add 10 pounds in your pledge, basic furniture set in resin. So you can add 3D elements.
Furnitures, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. So you guys are definitely making the game very, very immersive. Not even just for board gamers, but for miniatures lovers too, which I really appreciate. I'm kind of a bit of a good blend on both.
It is kind of, because we're in the market for quite some time in the miniatures talking, and as surprising as it is, we actually, when we made the miniatures, we thought that no one will be interested in it, because those are just normal people, furnitures, and would be interested in that. But as surprising as it was, there was a lot of painters contacting us and saying us, for example, finally someone make a miniature of a child. You cannot find a miniature of a child anywhere, and they were so happy that someone finally made a miniature of a child in the 32mm scale, because everyone is focused on dragons, soldiers, fighters, and no one is doing this actually civilians. So they were really happy to, and they were saying us that it's good job because of the idea of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. Well, I know that you do have to get going. Nick, is there anything else that you wanted to throw in there? Any comments you wanted to make?
The game looks amazing. I backed it as everyone knows, I have shiny addiction or some problem like that. I backed it pretty much as soon as he said it went live.
If I wasn't in the process of buying a home right now, I'd have a very, very, very mad wife, and she'd be asking why I just dropped $500 on this thing. But
Well, so I was able to control my shiny addiction at least that much. I think I'm a little bit above the starter kit. I forget what level I'm at.
Probably collector's edition with an art book.
Yes, I think I decided to go collector's edition because I have to at least go that far.
Cool.
I actually own the game on Steam, and I haven't been able to bring myself to play it yet. I am looking forward to the minis. The minis look amazing, and not only for this game, but a couple other games that I know I can definitely use them for, and they're gorgeous. And I look forward every day. I'm like, hey, are they going to send out an update? Let's see what's new today. And then some days there's really sad days because the update is you've got to make a choice. Are you going to help or are you going to do this? And I love it for the Kickstarter because it is what the next stretch goal is going to be. You pick one way or the other, and whatever gets the most votes is what you get as a stretch goal, and the other one is an add-on you can buy. I love that mechanic. That alone is just one of the most unique things, and it does make it kind of neat to see.
Right, and it puts it in the spirit of the game.
It does.
Exactly. We want to put like a little bit of meta in it. Yeah.
Because one of the first ones was, are you going to help these orphans, or are you going to take everything they have?
Knowing Nick, he would take every single thing they have.
I actually voted to help the orphans, dick.
Oh yeah, but the interesting thing was that like actually if you would take everything from the orphans, you would get like more cards, so you would get more components to the game.
Right.
So it was a choice like, are you going to do a morally right thing on the internet, which will like reward you less, or are you going to do that morally wrong thing in the internet and get more stuff for your game, right?
And I have to say, I was scared to open that update to find out what the rest of the internet.
Yeah, exactly. I was also I was very pessimistic about that one. I thought that no one will take it, but actually a majority did the right thing, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, it definitely was. When I saw the update, I'm like, what? The orphans lived?
Yeah, I was also expecting them to, but I was very positively surprised. You see, maybe there is a little hope in the world, in the world of internet. Yeah,
maybe there is. And I would say
another thing that I was very, very surprised was we put a choice if you want your pet a dog or a cat, and the dog win. Which was kind of, I was starting to think, like, internet, is there something wrong with you? You're letting the dog win? Seriously?
Well, come on. It is the post-apocalypse. You don't really need to deal with another dick.
Yeah, I mean, my fault. I don't like cats. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a dog and a cat, and I would do my best to save both, but I think the first one that would just run off would be my cat. He'd be like, fuck you guys, I know how to get through this.
I can go find you. Guys. Can you?
Yeah.
All right, guys. I need to wrap it up, and so I will just go out right now. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you very much for having me today.
Marcin, it's always a pleasure having you on, man. We definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Have a nice one. Cheers.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.